Let's talk about running shoes for a minute. These are the ones which I was running in last week. The cheap ones. $32. Well, with taxes and shipping. And this one weighs 280 grams. It's got a pretty big heel and it's a medium weight running shoe. This bit at the back means that your heel is elevated, and if you look at the way I run, you can see that there's a lot of dirt on the front here and there's almost nothing back here. That's because I run mid to forefoot, and so I kind of run like this, and my heel doesn't really touch the ground. And so there's actually quite a bit of weight in here. Well, my heel does touch the ground, but it touches here first, and then the heel comes down second. But this is a good shoe for where I am at the moment. It's not too heavy, and it does have this heel, not support, but it's a buffer to stop my calves being too stretched. One time when I rolled my ankle before, I couldn't stretch my heel at all, and so I made this shoe, yes, a high heel running shoe, and I actually ran in these. And so I just got an old pair of shoes and chopped them up, and this was just to allow me to start running while I was recovering from a calf pull. And I've kept them around, and I would have used them in Brisbane actually when we were on that trip, but I didn't have to use them once I got back. At the other end of the extreme, there's a lot of shoes down here, you get something like this. These ones are pretty worn. Here you can really see where I'm making first contact. My left foot, especially on this outer edge, the right one not so much. But you know, this might be because we do a lot of track running and we're constantly running this left turn. Or it could just be my running style. But despite how worn it is on the front, it's very hardly worn on the heel. And whereas this was, what was it, 285? 285 for this one. This one is only 140. So this is literally half the weight of this shoe. And it's also got almost no heel. This is a very flat racing shoe. Well, it's called a racing flat. So it's sort of one step away from a racing spike that would have no heel at all. So when you're running a long distance, of course, carrying this extra weight at the end of your leg actually tires you out a lot. It's like having light wheels on a car, I guess, same thing. The downside of something like this shoe is that there's no padding in here at all. This upper is light enough that you can see through it. It's just a mesh, so really no structure, and a very soft shoe. This has a little, well, this has actually got little structure either. It's soft. None of the shoes I want to run in need to be heavily padded. I'd rather have my calves do the padding. But having said that, this is a heavily padded shoe. This is a different company. So let's see, this was Saucony. So were my high heels, and this one was Asics Piranha 3, although I think they call it, it's got a different name now. The Hoka, let's look at the weight of the Hoka. A whopping 320, so we're getting on for 3 times the weight of this. I would never run a marathon in this thing, it is a monster. But I bought them for the extra padding, again as part of recovery from an injury. But as demonstrated in the video the other week, because they are high, there is a high pad. Now you imagine if you exaggerated that and let's say it was this high, you think how trippy that would be. It would be so hard to run in. And I've found that I've tripped in these shoes more than any other shoe, and that's what caused that rolled ankle last week. So no more running in these, although the padding is good. Super heavy. The reason you would have a shoe like this is if you were out on very gravelly trails or something like that, maybe with sharp stones. You got a nice big fat foot pad. The shoes I ran my last marathon in were these ones. Saucony again, type A6. And so they are, you know, it's similar to this shoe, but again, weight-wise, 165 grams. Not quite as light as the 140 here, but a little more padding in the sole, which just saves your feet. I have run a marathon in these, and after about 18 miles, they're so brutal on your feet, then it starts to kind of take your concentration away from your running because your feet are aching so much. These are a lot better. A nice extra little bit of pad, not very much heel. In fact, it was a little too low last year after I pulled my calf a little bit, and I added a little wedge just to lift it, but otherwise I think these are only, if they're not completely flat, it's maybe a 4mm heel drop. Yeah, you get through a lot of shoes. Here's a different type of shoe. It's a climbing shoe. Not that one. I do buy quite a lot of shoes from 6pm.com. Here you go, look, I've got a spare of these. This is just a slightly different version. What version is that? Saucony Racing, Type A, Type A6, whatever. They're pretty close. These are ventilated at the bottom, which is good unless you run through a puddle. These feel a little heavier. Let's see what we got. Yeah, 185 for that. And 165 for that. I'm probably going to try and run in these ones again, as they were good. If I ran in one pair of shoes and we were running, once we get up to 40 or 50 miles a week, the shoes are kind of done in about 6 weeks. I mean, you could walk around in them for another year, it wouldn't make any difference, but the outer grips start to go. And this is another version of the super light one. I'm just looking in these boxes to see what else I've got. How heavy is that one? Yeah, 135, 145. Okay, so this is the Piranha SP4. So that's actually the lightest shoe I have. And I haven't used these much other than the track. I can tell because of the red dust. Another shoe, which is brand new, waiting to be run in, weighing in at 230. I bought them at the same time as these, let's see. Yeah, 285, 230. So this would be where I'm heading next. And these have a slightly less heel, slightly lighter. Where are... that's what I was looking for. 185. These shoes are effectively the same shoe. This is just, let's see, Kinvara 9, Saucony again, and this one is an older Kinvara 4. The difference between these two shoes in terms of weight, 185 versus 230, so a 50-gram difference, is because I'm not against taking a shoe to the bandsaw and cutting off a ton of foam and even cutting out some of the arch. And yeah, just removing weight. And I'll do that to a brand new shoe. Just see all this extra bit out here? I hardly use the heel anyway. I just chop all of this off and just keep the pad at the front that I use and try and cut out some of what I don't. I think these were about $60 from 6pm. There's one more. Oh yeah. Clown shoes. These are from Ultra. And this is called The One, number 2. A bit confusing. It's an old shoe. And I like them because they're super wide, lots of space for your toes to spread out, and they have a very nice, it's sort of a stiffish sole, but it has a nice flex. Weight-wise, 220, so we're about the same as these, I guess. Little under. The problem is with a sole pattern like this, these big holes here, every time you run over a piece of gravel, it gets stuck. And then you're running and you're just hearing click, 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 and you got to stop, dig it out because it drives me mad. So I can't run in these because the gravel gets stuck. So I'm looking forward to, I'm going to start running in these next week, I think. But tomorrow, long run, I think I'll still be on these for now.